Hello, everybody. Welcome back to NRW. I'm your host today, Rob Medina, and it's been a long time, and I have missed you, and I thank you very much for joining me here today, because today I'm reviewing a film that came out back on July 3rd, 1996, which marks the 25-year anniversary of this film's release for Independence Day. And this was a movie I was very lucky to see in theaters, and I have to say that this was one of the best movie-going experiences I've had at that time. And really, since then, there have been other great films that have come out that certainly has matched that. But at that time, that movie certainly was like the turning point of the 1990s for me. Because for me, as a 90s kid, I always felt like that the 1990s had the best decade when it came to films, because it seemed like every year there was always that one movie that was that defining movie-going experience for everybody. I mean, there's other great films that came out each year. There's no doubt about that. But there was always that one that stuck out above the rest that was really that defining moment for everybody. And in 1996, no doubt, that film was Independence Day. And if you also think about it too, the 90s was like pretty much like a turning point for the industry, because special effects were pretty new at the time. They were still in the early stages where things were evolving along the way, and they're still evolving now regardless. But at that time, it was brand new. It was just like a whole new thing that people had not experienced before. And now we're getting these movies that are pushing the boundaries and making the movie-going experience that much better. And it kept getting better every single year. And the 90s was like that defining moment where it seemed like, oh shit, we could do this now. Well, you know, the sky's the limit at this point, and it certainly has been proven at this point now, because here we are in 2021, and things have just gotten better in terms of special effects. But at the time, it was just so new, and to see a movie of this scale with an alien invasion film to be told in this epic scale of a film, it was just amazing. And the anticipation for this movie was something I hadn't experienced in quite some time. And this movie, in my opinion, delivered that in all fronts. This, for me, is one of the most exciting blockbuster films I have ever seen in my entire life. Until this day, it's one of my favorite blockbuster movies of all time. I love this film, as you can tell already. But there's a lot that this movie certainly had accomplished that other films weren't really necessarily doing at that time, which I'll be getting into in this review, of course. But first, let's talk about the plot. So if you don't know already, the plot of this movie is rather simple. It deals with a group of aliens, rather, that are coming into Earth's orbit, and they are strategically, I hope I said that right, placing these flying saucers all around these major cities around the world to start a countdown to basically start an attack, and then they go into the next targeted city and doing the exact same thing, pretty much to wipe out Earth and take all their natural resources and then move on to the next planet, as has already been explained in one particular scene involving the president, Thomas Whitmore. And in the process, we have David Levinson, played by the wonderful Jeff Goldblum, who I think is one of the most amazing actors in our industry, and he just has such an iconic voice. That iconic Jeff Goldblum look is something you just can't forget. But I digress. The point I'm getting at is that he discovers that there is the code that's embedded in the satellite transmissions that where he discovers there's a countdown going on to cause this major destruction around the world. But by the time he tells this to the president, it's already too late. But they do manage to survive, and now they're trying to find a way to defeat these aliens. And in doing so, they discover that Area 51 is real. And along the way, they also discover that there is a refurbished spaceship that had crashed back in Roswell in 1947. Anyways, long story short, a bunch of people are trying to survive, of course, and they formulate a plan where they discover that they can put at least David, I should say, discovers that he can put a virus into the mothership to disable the shields that are protecting the motherships and the other flying saucers around, so that way they can plan an attack to wipe them out. And in the process, they do so, and they are very victorious along the way. Hence the end of the movie, and we get one of the most exciting endings and one of the most exciting films of all time, in my opinion, in Independence Day. So that is the plot right there in a nutshell. But how much did I like the movie? If you can't tell already, quite a lot. So first, I'm going to get into my positives, and then I will get into my negatives. So the first positive for me is that, as I mentioned before, this movie is epic. This movie is so huge in terms of like the scale of involvement, using everybody around the world and telling a rather fairly personal story for the most part. And you have Will Smith's character, Stephen Hiller, and his fiance, Vivica A. Fox's character Jasmine, and her son. And of course, you also follow the story of David Levinson, Jeff Goldblum's character, along with his father, President Thomas Whitmore. And you know, there's a bunch of things that are going on that you have connections with these characters, and you find something to sympathize with. And when they're going through the hardships, you actually, at least for me, and I'm sure a bunch of other people too, there's a lot that I did connect with the story. And one of the things I also took away from this film that I truly loved was the fact that I had read in an article years ago, and then I caught up with some things again to get myself refreshed with some of the behind the scenes process of making this film. And one thing that Roland Emmerich had said was that he had gotten the idea from a interview that he had done while promoting the film Stargate about, what would you do if in case a alien race comes in and invades Earth? How would you react? And he thought, well, I want to make a movie about that. So he decided, instead of taking this subtle approach where you have the aliens slowly, creeping their way into Earth, rather secretly, and then little by little you start getting exposed to that. He thought, fuck all that shit. Let's go full blast. These guys are going to come in with massive ships. Everyone's going to notice that, and it's going to be just chaos ensuing at that point. And that was a very smart approach, because a lot of times previous to this film's release, a lot of alien invasion movies were a little more subtle when it came to that, as I've already mentioned before. So this did the exact opposite of that, and then the payoff at the end was just the icing on the cake, because you already have the big massive battles between the two opposing sides here, and one is trying to defend home, the other one's trying to take over that, and you have that build up to that, and then it doesn't necessarily feel like it's reached its climax, but then you have a moment where you have time to regroup and then go to another climax, and then another moment to regroup again. So it does a really good job in leveling out all those wavelengths there for you to really still be invested with the story, with connecting with the characters. And for me, this is easily one of Roland Emmerich's best films. But another thing I also want to point out too about this movie is that there is no doubt in my mind that apart from Jeff Goldblum, Will Smith, no doubt, is the star of the film. I mean, he is definitely the standout for me, and with a lot of other people too. And this movie certainly helped put him in a whole nother level in terms of superstardom. And in the 90s, it seemed like every film he's ever been in was a box office hit, with the exception of one movie, Wild Wild West, but we're not going to talk about that. But the point I'm getting at is that this movie certainly just put Will Smith in a whole nother level of superstardom, as I mentioned before. But you can see that in this movie, because not only is he a very charismatic character that you like and you connect with, but when you also have those emotional moments with this character, it's actually it feels very authentic, very real. But at the same time, there is something about his character that you certainly do understand where he's coming from, and it's not a very difficult story to follow. I mean, this whole premise is rather simple, and it could have gone wrong in so many different ways. But putting in the right people to deliver and conveying these emotional beats that's required for a film like this, and then also providing the spectacle that is this movie, with the aliens coming in and they're just causing chaos, and then you have people of Earth trying to defend their home and then reunite at the end of the film to make a stand for their home here on Earth. It's a very powerful message. I mean, I'm not going to try too much to delve into that, because I think it's a pretty understandable approach of what they were trying to go for with this movie, where they're trying to make sure that we are aware that we are one. That's how I perceived it, and I love that aspect of the movie. And it seems like they're involving everybody, people from all different sorts of background. You have characters who are African American, who are Jewish, white, and who are Asian. Everybody was involved in this story to some extent, and it was a story about uniting the world for a common cause, protecting our home, protecting where we live, and then using the American holiday, Independence Day, to make it a worldwide holiday, because we all fought for what we love, and as our families, our friends, our home. And it's a beautiful message, and it's a fun one at that. I felt like this movie had accomplished that in so many levels, and to this day I still get the exact same feeling when I watch the film on how we as a nation we as a world nation, if you will, are coming together here. I'm kind of rambling on about that, but the point I'm getting at is that this is something that I think was very effective, and I think it definitely connected with everybody around the world that had seen this movie. And even to this day, it still has that same impact, I believe, because I showed this movie to my son a while back, and I remember him liking it last time I talked to him about it. But this is a film that still holds up very well, because it has a very powerful universal message. And that's really my major positive from this film. And of course, there's other great things about the movie too, which I haven't really delved into. But you know, the fight scenes with the alien spaceships and the F-18s, I think they're called, that are going at it with one another. That's pretty exciting too. There's a lot of comedic moments in this film that I thought was done very effectively. A lot of dramatic beats were done very effectively as well too. And that is my positive here in the nutshell. So now let's get into my negatives. As for my negatives, I do have some, but really my negatives are more just about just the generic approach in certain story beats that we've all seen before. The story beats are pretty much generic, like I said before, but despite that, I still felt like it was those generic beats were effective because they were done very well. And you know, you definitely have the spectacle of this alien invasion that kind of help elevate the story to make it much more interesting, much more engaging for us audience members to when we're watching the film. But as far as like some of the dialogue in this movie, it's still some dialogue don't really work that well, in my opinion. There's quite a few of them, quite frankly, and I can't really name them off the top of my head. But you know, even with those flaws, I don't really have a problem with this movie. There's a lot of this film that I just don't really have too many problems with, other than the fact just some generic things here and there that we've all seen before, that even to this day I don't think I've ever even rolled my eyes once at this movie. It's more like, oh, you know, they could have done that a little bit better. But even with that, that's still part of the film's charm that works so well. And this is coming from a guy that loves a lot of shitty films out there, but this movie is a very basic film plot that we've all seen before, and there's really nothing unique in that regard. So I guess you could say that's really my biggest negatives. But even then, I don't really have a problem with it because the story is done so effectively. The directing's fantastic, and the special effects, even at that time, was fantastic. Nowadays, up to this point, you can see that it's still a little outdated, but for the most part, it holds up very well. And the characters are still very much engaging. So that's pretty much my negatives right there in a nutshell. So let's get into my rating. Well, if you haven't figured it out by now you'll know, because to me, this movie is one of the greatest blockbuster films of all time. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. This movie is fucking awesome. So for me, I say this film is a solid cheers. And those are my thoughts on the film. And if you have seen the movie or haven't seen the film and it's going to be the first time you're watching it, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you share and like our videos, and also subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell while you're down there. And follow us on our social media accounts. We have a Facebook and Instagram page at New Release Wednesdays, and on Twitter at the NRW. And follow me on my social media accounts. On Instagram, Rob_Medina0585, on Twitter, RobMedina0585, and on Facebook, simply just Rob Medina. And I want to thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And it's been a long time since I've done a review. I've just been busy with other things along the way. So I will do my absolute best to continue making more reviews here. But I'm also going to be very selective as well, too, because I realized there was a lot of things that I was doing at the same time that was starting to become overwhelming for me, that I had to stop doing one thing in order for me to be able to do all the other things as well. So hopefully you guys who've been keeping up with my reviews here aren't too upset about it, but I promise I'll be back and doing some other reviews along the way. I got some really cool ones that I'm really excited for to be reviewing here, and hope you guys will enjoy and get a kick out of it. But until next time, everybody, I hope you guys stay safe out there. Have a happy 4th of July, and remember, cheers.